Hopefully everybody's enjoying the weather outside. We're going to have a lively panel with real builders like we've just talked about. So I'm going to start off with Michelle to introduce herself, and she's actually going to talk about what she has built with MCP. So.
Yes, thank you. Is mic on? Okay. So I have built a triage of sorts that allows me to connect the Pendo MCP with the rest of the data from my organization. Think of it as an everyday morning, wake up, what do I need to know? Before I talk to anyone, before I watch any replay sessions, which ones are most important for me? What happened yesterday? And we have a little video.
Hi, I'm Michelle, Cohley's Director of Product, and I want to go through today something that I built in Dust. It's to connect a lot of different agents, and they have triggers so that way you can run things on a daily schedule without having to wait for it to run and create an agent. So the agents that I have created is Finn, which is our Cohley fish, which is product usage. In this agent, if I go to edit, I can see the role of the agent that I have created. And as you can see, it's very long. And it describes what it is that they're here to do, what knowledge they have, and things to know about the knowledge. And the special things that we included about the knowledge are rules, information about key terms and values, business logic, and then I have some SQL queries, quite a few SQL queries, that I use to help the agent understand different values that they might see in the data tables. It's kind of looking at what activity happened yesterday, so that way, as opposed to having to watch all Pendo sessions, I can make sure that I am, as a director of product, really familiar with what's happening. So it tells me yesterday what certain people did, and I have a group based on the customer success manager. And then we have standard activity where like no callouts, and then potential issues to watch, which is what I really like. Potential data spike, different volumes to look at, wins to celebrate, and ideally no major bugs to celebrate. I can also ask Finn, are there any sessions in Pendo that I should watch to help me before reaching out to any CSMs with questions. I have lots of different sessions to watch. One is a heavy content review session, lots of thinking, reviewing time, lots of events, some rage clicks and dead clicks, significant frustration, power users, brief creation workflow. Ooh, to see what good looks like. I like that one. This is fantastic. So really excited to find these, to get them brought to the forefront and prepping for some CSM conversations.
So Michelle, one of the things is the instruction layer, right? You wrote a lot of instruction there. How did you do that? Like, you know, it's intimidating to write a markdown file if you've never done one. How did you sort of do that process?
For me, it was really what I'd been using before. So I went and got all of the SQL queries I had been running daily, copy and pasted them, which, you know, it takes time to set up. But once you have the setup, it's there. And so by giving the role, the purpose, the context that was needed to know how to understand our data and know what to look for, I was able to operationalize it as a daily task.
Oh, cool. Costa, why don't you introduce yourself, and we'll watch your video as well, what you've been building.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Costa. I lead integrations and ecosystem at Miro. So one of the things that I think about daily is how do you help teams and agents collaborate together across tools to accelerate workflows. And so the example that I have recorded is kind of a simple use case for how we use Miro MCP to take the context, take the output of the agent, visualize it on the board together, collaborate and iterate on it, align on what needs to actually get built, and then pass it back to the agent for execution so the right thing gets built.
Here's one example. After a customer discovery call, we fed the transcript into Claude and generated a PRD directly on the Miro board. From there, we mapped out a user flow, added reference screenshots, and captured nodes, all on one shared board, forming the full picture. Once aligned, I dropped the board URL into Claude code. With MCP, it understood the context and generated a working prototype that reflected what the team aligned on. We can now show this to stakeholders and validate the direction with the customer the same day. A year ago, this sort of speed wasn't possible. Now anyone can go from a customer problem to an aligned solution in a matter of hours.
So Costa, like one of the things is it's a lot of change management. How did you get your team to start to use this, like this agent? Did you start to tell the group product manager, your other product managers to use it? How do you do the change management piece of it?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to two things in my mind. So one is mandate. Like it's not even just up to me. It's like at the company leadership level, it needs to be decided that it's important. And a lot of companies nowadays are obviously recognizing that it's really important. Miro, we decided, especially with just how fast the market is moving and the changes that Todd talked about, things that are possible that wasn't possible a year ago, it's broadly understood in the company that we want to really accelerate the adoption of these things. But mandate alone is not enough, so we are also investing a lot in enablement. So we have AI product guilds. It's basically we set up Slack channels so we can learn from each other, live sessions, and as leaders, we also need to model kind of this behavior. So I'll vibe code a prototype and discuss it with my direct reports. They get inspired. And a lot of times, my direct reports are the ones inspiring me, actually, right? Yeah. They're like close to the metal. They're the ones creating really amazing stuff.
Cool. Gunjan, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll watch your videos as a builder.
Hey everyone, I'm Gunjan. I head the AI products for Atlassian. I would say like most of my career has always been how we can have people get some work done faster, so get some time back. Hopefully the work time back is about family and not TikTok and stuff. But that's the idea, like, hey, just help people get their work done faster. And with Atlassian and the demo I'm going to show you, I'll show how I'm saving time and how I'm enabling my team and my customers to save time.
Hey everyone, my name is Gunjan Sood. I'm the head of product for Atlassian AI Rogo, and I'm really excited to share with you all my favorite use case with MCP. So as PMs, we're juggling a lot of jobs, and one of the most important jobs is to know what our customers are asking for, which means we should know what things they're liking about our product, what they don't like, how they're consuming our product, what recent sales conversation they had, what the competition is doing in the market, and all of that stuff. All this information requires us to do tons of research, and consuming that research also requires tons of hours, which we don't have. So to help with that use case, I built myself an agent. I described it in natural language, what kind of report I'm looking for, but most importantly, I enabled a bunch of MCPs in Rogo. I gave access to my sales tool, Google Documents, Calendar, GitHub, my Jira tickets, conference pages, meeting notes, all that information, HubSpot leads, etc. So I can give Rogo the power to go and reason over all this information. When I head over and ask a question to help me prepare for my upcoming meeting, it's going to use all those MCP tools and produce a comprehensive report for me to just take minutes. To save us some time, let's jump on this report. It has the account health information, critical issues which are going on, opportunities, people I should speak with, and if I want to dwell further, I can absolutely dwell further. Things which used to take me hours now takes me minutes, and I walk into that room significantly more confident. I'm pretty sure you all have more cool use cases for MCP too, so I look forward to learning and chatting with you all. Thank you.
Gunjan, what was your biggest learning building this? You're building Rovo, but an agent inside of it. What's the key learning that you could tell everybody about?
I think we are struggling to imagine good ideas. There is so much possible now, which was so difficult. We always kept saying, out of scope, not going to happen, too difficult, expensive. But we genuinely need to give these tools a shot, explain them what we want them to do, and believe that they will get there. I think models of today may not be able to get there, but models of tomorrow definitely will. So leap of faith, trying, not aiming for perfection was the aim. And that's why you can see this scale or agent was very extensive in terms of all the MCPs it's using. And just backstage, I was talking about ThoughtWorks, and we just had the same conversation. I think you are my customer, I'm pretty sure. I pulled up my phone, typed the same query, and we discussed how ThoughtWorks is using Rovo or trying to use Rovo. So that thing becomes very powerful. I have the power of 10 people researching for me in my pocket. That wasn't possible before. So that was a learning. Dream big, you can actually get many of these big things done very easily if you just have faith.
And one thing we talked about backstage is you got to retry these models like today Claude Code is really well, tomorrow Codex might be. And you got to every 6 months almost go back and try these tools because they might have actually unlocked something that they couldn't have done before. I do think that's an important thing as these frontier models get better, is going back and trying what's possible, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah. Like all the tools are getting better all the time. So there's not a single winner you can just hang on to for a long time. Technology is going to change, stack's going to change. So keep trying, keep building stuff, and you will find success in humongous amount of scenarios.
Francois, at the end of the road here.
Yeah, so my name is Francois. I'm so head of product at ThoughtSpot. And so for those who don't know ThoughtSpot, basically we are like the BI tools in the AI era. So think about, if you want to get inside and use all the data that you may have in your enterprise, so on top of your cloud data house, be able to drive inside, understand better how sales, service, any department, finance, HR, legal, you can do that through ThoughtSpot. But also the second use case we have, which is why also we are here at the Pendomonium, is a lot of teams, you may have your board calling you and say, hey, when is your AI feature shipping? When our customers can see data, right? And you're like, okay, I need to switch all my roadmap. I need now to add and to create a dashboard module. So what people are doing actually is they buy our product to white label our technology to put into their own product. So like this, they can expose data, they can expose conversation with data. So that's basically ThoughtSpot in a nutshell. And the demo that I'm showing here is our implementation of MCP, a little bit like Rovo. So how can you query structured data that may come from your cloud data house? And how can you merge this structured data with unstructured data or from SaaS applications? So how can you bring, when you have a high-level question, bring data from your cloud data house with Slack, with other information to have more meaningful insight? So you can go to video.
Hello. So here I'm using ThoughtSpot. ThoughtSpot is an AI and BI analytics application, and so we are using Spotter in this case, and Spotter is our AI assistant. And what I have asked Spotter, thanks to the connection with MCP, is basically to create me a full report of ThoughtSpot as a customers, using data from the cloud data house that we connect to, like for example Snowflake, Databricks, and so on. It's also going to grab information from Slack about conversations that may happen on the account. It's also going to use Jira, Confluence. So it's really like merging structured, unstructured web knowledge, all of that together, mixing capabilities of our product with the power of MCP to grab information from other external systems. So let's see the result here. So here we go. I have like the different information about my account snapshot. So all this data come from obviously like some structured data that we store in the cloud data house. You can see the graphic about it. It's all dynamic and flexible and so on. You have some insight about it, and you have the recent activity, exclamation, marketing context. So this is obviously coming from the web. Which is really interesting, and then some competitive pricing signal. So this is coming from Slack, some Jira tickets, and then the top 5 recommended actions. So really like using all the different sources of information, structured, unstructured. It's really going to enrich the capabilities and the value of the report. And all of that is a great example of the power of MCP. Thank you.
Francois, one of the things you have is a lot of different data sets coming in, and people in the audience work at big companies. How do you get through security? Like, that becomes an issue. You're grabbing data sets that you might have authority to, not have authorization to. How do you think you work through the security pieces of it, especially for like something like ThoughtSpot, where you are pulling in a lot of data?
Yeah, I mean, that basically, the secret is basically the semantic layer, right? Semantic layers is what you are going to create in ThoughtSpot, and this is where you are going to specify which table you want to expose to who will have the right to do what, And so you have full control then about who is going, based on who you are, you are going to be able to only have access to the data that you need to have access. So the really important thing is, in every standard BI tools before, the dashboard was kind of like the guardrail, right? The dashboard was created by an analyst. He had control about which visualization to put on the dashboard and how to put the information and so on and control everything. Because now dashboards are going a little bit away, and now people want to speak directly to the data. So because this layer is going away, now the new layer of control is really the semantic layer. And this is where you can really still provide a lot of value with a full control.
Cool. So we've had APIs for a while. We've all built APIs. We have products with API. They've existed. What do you unlock with MCP that you could not with APIs? Maybe Gunjan, you want to take this first?
I think all of us had examples right now we shared where we were able to give the answer, build what we want to build by talking to multiple different sources of information. In the past world, you had to understand API for each of these tools, spend your already scarce dev resources to go and build those different APIs. And if one requirement changed, rather than just reading something, you have to write something, go back and make the change again and wait for 6 weeks. That was the cycle. So our cycle was slow, it was expensive. Now with the introduction of MCP, there is MCPs being provided by the providers themselves, and then there is frontier model companies also providing MCPs. You are just expressing your intent. So your velocity of building that stuff is just accelerated very, very quickly. And you're moving away from defining call to an action, but rather and describing your intent. So that's where the agent orchestration, assigning work to agents is now possible. Otherwise, it was impossible. How many different paths can you actually really build? So I believe that's the power of MCP. I'm pretty sure there's going to be replacement of MCP in future or whatever, but right now, that is the fastest way for you to agentify your workflows.
Yeah. Maybe one of you guys want to take, if somebody in the audience hasn't built an MCP server and they're just getting into this, how do they go from an API to starting to expose MCP, and which tools do they expose? Did you guys go to a prioritization exercise of what tools to expose, what data to expose? Because each of you guys have different data sources, right? So I'd love to hear about, for the audience to hear okay, we want to build an MCP server, we want to get into this new world, what should we do? How should we prioritize stuff? How should we think about it? Maybe Costa, if you want to start, and then Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it's not one size fits all, but I can share how we approached it at Miro. And we started really with validated use cases and kind of major hypotheses, strategically narrowing down what we wanted to focus on. At the time we built the MCP server, engineers were really the ones adopting it the most, so we built around the engineering workflows and solving the problems that as agents are going and executing, writing thousands of lines of code. You saw Todd's graph off and to the right. Visualizing that code base was really difficult, and understanding what the agents are doing in order to steer them. So we focused on that, and we focused on how do you make sure that folks don't just build in isolation and kind of build in different directions. So then we focused on taking the team's intent, all of the requirements that you've aligned on with the team, and how do you pass that on to code generation. So that's kind of how it started. And we saw traction there, but we also saw some unexpected adoption across all the different roles. But yeah, that prevented us at least from going too broad, too early, and both confusing the agents with too many tools and also confusing our narrative in terms of how do we go to market with that.
We started with a single agent, so our MCP is actually being used internally before we take it off platform. So if you are a Cohley customer, you have access to our agent and can ask questions and then can actually execute as well through the different agents. So we went from single agent to multi-agent, but we also started with what was easiest and most trustworthy. We've talked a lot about trust in the past 24 hours, and we wanted to make sure that our users had the trust of the tool before we said, we're going to handle this end-to-end for you. We want to make sure that the user is still in the driver's seat, the brain is still having the guardrails and making sure that everything that's executed has been confirmed before we say, okay, we can actually handle all these tasks for you and do it end-to-end. So that's been the slow growth process.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like we also started internally because it's a confined space, right? And starting on a use case is really important. I think is you could go multiple ways. Is define the use case and getting good at that skill. So, Gunjan and Francois, how did you guys sort of, you guys have different kind of data sources than Miro does and other.
Yeah, I mean, we have created our first MCP server maybe like a year ago, and we made a big mistake actually when we did it. What we did is we expose the tools as really like low-level primitive. So what we say is like, if you have a question, call this endpoint and just ask your question and pass your question, right? And you have another endpoint, which is if you want to reformulate your question, use this endpoint to reformulate your questions. And the problem is we were giving too much power to the LLM. So then Claude was deciding, or ChatGPT, or even like was deciding when to use which tool. And actually, they tend to not use a tool because they think they are smart, right? So they will say like, hey, you know what? I can figure it myself, and I'm just going to do stuff. So for example, if you ask like, hey, show me my top 10 customers, right? Top 10 customers is very ambiguous because what is it? Is it like the one which has the biggest number of products? Is it the most active? Is it the biggest brand? So LLM was kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to find my own definition. And then I'm going to call Spotter to get the answer to that. And so that, and by the way, if you ask twice the same questions, it may come up with different answer. And he was kind of like hallucinating in a way that he was like, okay, if you ask top 10 because it's a banking data set, I'm going to go with the one who has the biggest saving account. And sometimes he's going to go with the biggest, credit account. So it was very, very bad. So what we switched to a different way now where we are providing tools that provide everything. So we basically bring the intelligence and we don't let Claude to bring his own intelligence because we know that what we are doing, we have more context than Claude, so we can really like answer better the questions. And we don't want to outsource the intelligence to the LLM. We really want to control that. So now our new tooling is create the conversations when you put your prompt and when take care of everything. So like that, we know exactly that every time you are going to ask a question, you have all the time the same answer because it's grounded with all the context that we have, with the semantic layers and context, memory, and everything, and we control all of that. So I think that if you design an MCP server, you really need to think about, so what is your value prop, obviously, but where do you want to leverage intelligence? Do you want to delegate it to the LLM? And in some cases, like we have another MCP server, we do that, it's perfect. But in this case, because it's so sensitive, we really had to design the other way around. So it's much more than MCP per se. It's much more than that. It's really like also embedding the agentic side of it.
Yeah, we had that same learning is the reasoning models will make, they're trying to make sure their master, which are humans, are impressed with their answers. So they'll make it up. If the tool's not available, it'll be like, I did something yesterday, it just said I made up the answer. It didn't even look for the tool. So that is really important. I think what you just said, if you're building an MCP server, is how do you guardrail it? How do you make sure the reasoning layer,
yes.
And if you're using the Claude SDK or something, it's just not making it up because it doesn't even it's lazy. It doesn't want to go look for the tool.
I think that's why I used all the SQL queries.
Yes.
These are the definitions. This is what it means to be top because we have all the different people that are querying the data and they don't know what exact word to use or what the name of the field is to look at. So this was back in January. So this is during the MCP hackathon, but I didn't have access to the Fin MCP at that time. I had access to the Pendo MCP, and so that's why your data was explained and understood. I had to do that level of explanation for our internal data.
Yeah, the instruction layer becomes so important now, and how it's run. Like you gave a precise SQL query. So, Gunjan, how did you guys?
Yeah, for us, learnings were similar. We all are still learning because use cases are still primitive and people are going to push the technology a bit more further. We need to describe very precisely what all the tools you're exposing and what their job are. And that's what all the models are going to use to not hallucinate and not make stuff up. With Atlassian, people use these tools every day. Their workflow depends upon it. If you move stuff around accidentally, it can backfire. So it was super critical. We started with the workflows, which were common, people were using it a lot, but we described them exhaustively so people and models understood what they should invoke so that we don't end up creating noise in the ecosystem. And of course, when you're building MCP servers, like you're following recommendations, dog food on your own self, like on your own company, train it, and make sure it's right before you flood it to your customers, right? So we all are here to still serve our customers like that. It doesn't matter what the technology is. So like dog fooding internally, as Michelle mentioned before, being prescriptive, as we mentioned before, are some of the tricks you have. You probably should follow.
You know, the MCP and agentic interfaces happen, we're abstracting traditional software UIs. Like we've all spent so much time, like we had this internal debate inside our shop. It's like, how much should we expose? They will never come back into Pendo. Our UI will become not valuable. And we will just be a data store. And then we're not a product destination. We all make money being a product destination. I'd love to understand, how did you guys think about it? Like, it is a challenge. Like, people pay for our software, not only the data. So I'd love to just go down to Ro and just ask, how did you guys deal with that inside your shop? How did you sort of talk through it? Where did you guys end up? Is there tools you expose and tools that you don't expose, and why?
Yeah, for us, the KPI of time spent has always been number one. So we're not looking at logins or daily sessions. We just want to make sure that you can execute a brief in a very short amount of time and complete your task. So for us, that is basically if a conversation and a rule-based execution can solve that, then great. So now we have the question of, do we move 100% conversational, or does someone still want to be doing the 20 to 30 clicks that gets you there across the week? If I can log in and see, okay, this is the content that I'm reviewing, this is the creator that I'm working with. Sorry, Cohley is a creator marketplace platform. You have that visual guide to lead you along the way. And you can still be the brain that is saying, yes, this is who I want to work with. Yes, this is the content that I want to accept. So it's a give and take. You need both. But I think it's also okay, and I thank you for the Pendo MCP, because I need to connect it with my other data. So I think for the future, we all have to be playing together. The winner is going to be the one who has the most intelligence. So competitors have to work together, different vendors and sectors have to work together, so that way your customer can say all of my data is in one place and they can choose to work where they want to work.
Yeah. How did you guys think about Miro? Because you guys have this whiteboarding tool, and people spend a lot of time in your software.
Right. For us, actually, I think it's a little bit different. So I'd like to almost flip this, because when agents can do a lot more across tools, who's steering them? Do you want to just go and let agents loose and go and do whatever, right? No, because that's going to be chaos and AI slop, right? So we think a lot about where do you then align those agents, and how do you align with the team and what they should be executing. So for us, it's yes, there is obviously engagement with our product via other agents or outside of the platform, and that's fine. Sometimes work starts in other tools. Other times we find it starts in Miro. And so depending on where you start, we just want the work to flow smoothly in either direction.
Sure.
Yeah, Atlassian has a lot of Confluence data and other things. We mix it daily with, we use your MCP server, so I'd love to understand, your knowledge is your data instead of your database.
I think we believe the data is customers' data, and they should use the data they would like to use. People are going to build competing products. Your moat is your moat. You should build a better experience so customers feel trusted, depending on your services you're providing. If someone can get their work done faster using you as a orchestration engine, knowledge engine, UX engine, that's a win for the customer and win for us. So that's why we have encouraged others to have MCP servers which connect to Atlassian. We build our own MCP servers, and we connect with most other SaaS providers very freely as well. So being customer obsessed gives you the right to go and ask your customers to stay with you. And if they're happy with the service you're providing, I feel it's okay. The fundamental part there is like you still are responsible for trust, security, compliance, all those factors. So when you are giving the data, we are still custodian and accountable for that. So we just play very safely on who can access data and give toggles, controls to the data holders, which are customers, on who they're exposing the data. But our strategy is data is customers, and they should use how they feel fit.
How did you guys think about ThoughtSpot?
Yeah, so so with our MCP server, so and like where our customers embed our technology into their software, obviously they want to show data question into their own agent, because most of our customers, they have created their own agent, right? And so they are connecting using MCP to ThoughtSpot. But the reality here is the next question they ask all the time is, how can I visualize the data? How can I see the graphic? And so that's why, for us, the MCP was a little bit hard because at the beginning, there was no plan for UI, for user experience, right? And so we were just dropping answers and a link. You have to click and to open an iframe, but it was not so great, and like people have to implement that on their side. So, but now with MCP apps, actually, it's really cool because you don't really have to decide. You still have your own UI inside any agent, so you can still control the user experience because obviously for an analytical tool, the user experience is super important. You need to be able to drill down, you need to be able to see it, to change it, and on top of having your answer. So I think that the fact that now with MCP you have this extension with MCP apps is really going to help us to don't have to compromise between just having a conversational UI or having like an applications. You can really merge the two together. And as you mentioned, customer can decide where they want to do what. What usually our customers are doing is, if they are like hardcore analytical person, they will go in our product and do everything in our product. When it's more like business users with just need to have one question, they will go into the agent, and inside their agent, they will still have access to the visualization, and the text and the answer, so they will be happy with that. So I think it's really like coexistence and based on the jobs that you need to do.
If I may add to that, like very well put. With this new innovation, everybody's a builder. Yeah. Because everybody's a builder. A person who was not a developer is a developer. A person who was not a data analyst is a data analyst. A person who was not a designer, they're a designer. So each of these tools are going to see significantly more usage. So what the operating system is a chatbot. It used to be a browser before. It used to be a true OS before. You're going to see more usage happening for the tools which are built for that purpose. But you will see number of people using those tools just explode. Everybody's an analyst now. Everybody wants to support, like, solve tickets. Everybody wants to write amazing pitches. Like, that is going to happen. So we all should see, if you're building great products, irrespective of how people are consuming your experiences, as long as they're good, you will see high return on investment and business grow overall and customers being happy.
So does the North Star metrics become number of calls or something like that? Is that what you guys sort of look, what does success look like for your MCP tooling for you guys? If you democratize the data now, you have analysts using it, you have product managers using it. What North Star metrics do you look like that is success?
Like for me, like very soon, we will stop delineating between a user and agentic user. So I think it's mostly about workflows you're powering. Today, a team punches out 100 tickets and they host 5 scrums in a month. But with agents writing 100 PRs every day, you probably want to have a scrum every day to control, manage, stuff like that. So you are basically, your KPI is number of workflows and how they're accelerating. And you will, of course, humans are in the loop. We're not letting these agents go loose. Of course, you want to control, you want to give them direction, you want to focus towards the business outcomes you want to do. So you eventually should see larger number of workflows orchestrated in your systems, irrespective of where the front end of that experience is.
How do you guys look at, do you guys measure your MCP calls inside of your businesses? How do you guys make sure it is being productive?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it as with any other product. We're seeing nonlinear growth actually with MCP, just in terms of the people adopting it and how much they're using it, the tool calls, yes, what they're doing with it. But then we're really trying to understand the workflows, as you mentioned, right? Like, what are the workflows they're using it for, and are they being successful? And so the last part is, are they being successful? We're looking at, are they returning? Are they using that again for those workflows? And we're seeing some real stickiness now, especially with things like visualization of code. So yes, it's kind of like we're right now looking at it as yet another dimension. We're still looking at, how people are using our product, like using Miro, not just MCP. So it's both.
Okay.
The North Star stays the happy customer.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
doesn't change
That's
regardless
ultimately
of
like
how they're getting the
right.
data.
And there's a way to kind of like leading indicators to get you there.
Yeah.
And Francois, how, as you're a design, you talk a lot about design, and how do you start to think about human design versus agent designs, right? Because agents, Gunjan just said, agents are going to be using these things. Have you started thinking about that instead of ThoughtSpot, like if an agent starts using my piece of software, how that looks versus a human? How do you prioritize that going forward?
I think that, right now we are really we are trying to change the mindset of people first. Because, we are all cool here. We are speaking about MCP and all the cool stuff and automatic, stuff. But when you speak to customers, some people are still looking every day at their dashboard.
Yeah, true.
And they are still doing the manual work. So I think there is, sometimes there is a little bit of disconnect between, the technology and everything you can do, and where all the companies and all the people are doing on a daily basis. Some of them are obviously very advanced, and we need to work with this guy, obviously, right? We need to continue to innovate, and we need to build interface that can be owned by agent, where agent can run workflow, ask questions, get answers, take actions, and we're obviously working on that. But also, we have to continue to work for everybody else, right? And we cannot just focus on the cool stuff. We also need to deliver values for some other enterprise or companies that may not be so advanced, and still providing value for them. So we need to do. We try to do really do both to let nobody on the side of the road.
Yeah, looking at both. Yeah. I'm going to switch up for a little bit and talk. We're all product people, or in that realm. Is the world is changing fast. It's unsettling, and you guys are all product leaders and have had long careers. The whole build is collapsing, like we've been talking about the whole CI/CD process from planning to CI/CD. It's collapsing really fast, from design to product, and we all are trying to change our product orgs. How do you see the product role evolving? I know you can't talk 5 years, even in a year. How do you picture it evolving? You guys have all been product leaders, design leaders. And that will arm the crowd to think about what should they learn next as well. So Michelle, I'd love to start with you.
I'd love to stop writing Jira stories. That'd be great. But I do have, AI writing this for me now. You still need the brain. I think ideally less mistakes, less bugs. We won't spend as much time reworking and rewriting, because ideally it'll have that context and know what you missed last time. You're not going to miss next time. We're all learning from, and AI is helping us learn faster. That would be great. And then we're all able to keep up, because we're not spending as long on a spike, right? How much time do we spend doing research, reading the API documentation? Okay, these are the endpoints that are available. Will this get us the information we need? Now, within 5 minutes, you can get that answer. So maybe no more spikes.
Yeah, and just kind of building on that, right? So what you mentioned is agents just carrying more execution, more nitty-gritty work but the real PM craft, the one, the problem framing, alignment, communication, that's more important than ever. Because again, you don't want to let the agents run wild and decide what they want to do, right? Nobody wants that world. So we kind of product people and builders, and even developers now and designers need to step up more and think about the product craft and think about problem framing, curating context. So I think when I think about PM role evolving is just more away from kind of that execution that agents now are picking up, and more towards the higher leverage activities that kind of elevate the overall product management space.
That's true. Maybe adding a little bit. So we all used to do a lot of work which we felt was grunt work. And every time we did that grunt work, somebody else to review our grunt work, and that person was busy, so there was a delay in between. So agents are here to help us with that, and we are actually promoting that grassroots, at least in Atlassian, and we're building a bunch of agents which we're shipping out of the box as well, so others can adopt it too. And that has been a game changer for us. Some cool examples being every Monday morning, every PM gets a Slack message of what happened last week in terms of the feedback came in, tickets which came in, customer complaints which came in. They're synthesized every week, and has the trend changed, and is that work is already prioritized or not? That information is in your hand now versus you spending 1 day or 2 days sometimes to get that answer. And once you have the information, you have agents who understands how your organizations like specs, how you should put the BRDs together. There's agents to help you with that. So you're still in command to do that, but we are training our workforce to leverage these agents. So the deep thinking work you are still executing, and you are working on high agency work and delegating these tasks to agents so you can do significantly more. So when I mentioned like everybody's a builder, PMs are checking code, PMs are building design, designers are checking code, building insights, like the tools in MCP with ThoughtWork and Miro, like those are examples of where everybody can do significantly more. So we are pushing those boundaries to be broken and training people to do that with agents they can build themselves.
So let me double click on that. You're saying like everybody's writing code, designers are, product people are. How do you guys keep control of quality, right? Like PR reviews. Like I've had my designers do a delight-a-thon where they went in and took all the bugs in and started, but then a front-end engineer has to review it and the PR review, and then they broke something. Or we have one of our senior engineers is taking all the tickets and using a coding agent to do it. Like, how do you think about, like now you have so many people submitting to the code base.
Yes.
Like it can get unruly.
Yes, it can. So I think this is where like most of the actually small or big organizations both struggle, and takes a while to do it. Your pipelines needs to be significantly robust. You still need to understand what your core workflows are. Are you experimenting everything what you're experimenting? Are you looking at the scorecards or not? Do you have a robust test cases or not? Do you still have humans in the loop? Do you have the right architecture diagrams and best principles on how the code should be checked in? All that information still is bounded by experts who have a lot of knowledge, which they've documented, so agents can work on their behalf. But again, like remember, like just because you have a lot of agents, they can do work, you still need to do the right work. You don't want to be generating AI slob, as Costa was mentioning before. So you're still in the control of what agent's going to go and do. If you have a mission to build something, if that can build faster, that's awesome, right? But you shouldn't be building wrong stuff faster. So that's where like the control is. Like, yes, you have the power. You need to direct it the right way, and that's where the high agency work comes in with human in the loop. I think it's a great problem to have. Like,
yeah, the biggest risk is accelerating all in different or wrong directions.
Precisely, yes. So coordination becomes actually even more important than it's ever been, right? So like Department X can do Department Y's job, great, but do you want to do that, and how are you communicating? So those are some new challenges which we all are still navigating through and figuring out.
Yeah. Francois, how did your product org and design org change?
Yeah.
You guys restructured it at all to take advantage of this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, everybody is a builder. You know, I got a Slack message last week from my CEO and say, Francois, we need to build a Mac application for Spotter. Like, it's so cool. I want really to have that. And you know, when you receive, you start to think about, okay, which team I need to give this to? What should I change the priority for what? And you're like, oh, damn it, I don't want to do that just because, you know, my CEO asked for it. So I just took Cloud Code and I actually wrote it myself. And in 2 days, I was something working. I sent it to him and he was super happy. And now, you know, I'm trying to roll out to the full company and tomorrow, you know, to our customers, right? So I think the power of this is really huge. Now, I think that if you really want, and this was, you know, it was a simple application, right? If you really want to leverage the capabilities of vibe coding, I think you need to profoundly change all the processes in the company. Yes. Because you are going, for example, to, like, are your customer ready to get a new feature every day, right? Maybe yes, maybe no. Is your support team is going to be ready to support stuff that has been coded like yesterday, right? Is your CI/CD ready to have so many PRs? Is your quality is ready to do regression testing? Is your Scrum team is ready to be much more agile and go much faster? And I think it's not just about, you know, I think that if we just like, you know, put some agentic there and there in our process to go faster, I think it's going to be great. But if you really want to take everything, all the potential, I think you need to redefine the way you are creating stuff and think about it, and you will have to change the process really to get the full potential of it. And I think that's what we need to do right now at ThoughtSpot, because we do vibe coding, we do like PR review automatically by Claude and stuff like that. Great. But I feel like we need to go to the next level where you are redefining how people work to really like leverage the maximum possibilities of generating more code faster. And back to your point, creating the right thing also, and not creating more like useless features that you'll have to maintain and so on. Or like vibe coding stuff that have like 25 bugs, and then your customer is not going to be happy. So I think it's fundamentally you need to redesign the processes. And I don't know, I don't know if there is any like blog post or thing like, I don't read a lot about that. So, but I think that would be super important if you want to get the post.
I think it would be great if you guys can go through and how have you guys restructured some of this stuff? Because what you're talking about is you had to look at your whole systems.
Yes.
From CI/CD, like from PR, like if you don't look at it, it will all break. You'll push people to go faster, but actually nothing will get produced for your customers. So, yeah, I'd just love to understand, did you guys restructure your orgs at all? Did you sort of give people end-to-end, like, hey, product person, you and everything end-to-end to release this to, and the front-end piece of it. So, love to understand if you guys restructured your teams at all and how they work to make this possible.
We're actually probably going to hire another QA. So like, because we can't keep up with the volume, release volume, like we want to make sure it goes through automation. We want to make sure it goes through manual QA. We don't want to be introducing more bugs into the platform just because we're building faster. The customer still needs a reputable platform that they can use and trust. So if anything, if we're moving faster, that just means more people are needed. Like we don't want to trust Claude to review.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I don't know if like the advent of MCP is causing us to restructure or anything. We're more just structuring ourselves around the product value so that we're not, shipping our org chart. So there's nothing new in that. But within that, because there's more that can be done, right, by an individual, there's more ownership around the end-to-end experiences. By no means do we have it solved as far as like the org structure, because like as we experiment with different structures, we're seeing like other problems created. So how do you like maintain the duality of building a platform, but then also like orienting around customer value in specific use cases? So I think it's something we're continuously learning as well. But yes, like we're experimenting with different models and ways of working.
Plus one, like it's not a solved problem. Yeah, like I think when you were building your own startup in a small space and then you hired 5 people, oh my God, I'm not moving as fast, that was a problem. When you went to 50, it became impossible to manage, and then companies is 5,000, like you give up. No, you still continue to iterate through it. It's kind of a similar velocity problem. It just happens to be on a bigger scale. So we are organizing our teams a similar way where rather than having large team who work on one thing, we have smaller teams. And less cross-dependency, so that's more agency I've said before. So that is one change which has happened. So it's not just a box moving, but it's about responsibilities improving and getting bigger responsibilities to team, which means we can focus on the roadmap item which was 2 years ahead, like we couldn't tackle it, we are tackling it now. But yeah, smaller teams. Of course, we have already invested a lot into our CI/CD pipeline testing. Like UR is still important. Market research is still very important. Especially when you're building a product, taste matters. AI will generate what you tell it to generate. Like, is it a good thing? It doesn't know. So, like, all that investment still needs to happen. PMs and designers and researchers needs to invest a lot in understanding the craft and upscaling what good is. So all that stuff still needs to happen. So org structure is changing, but getting smaller into focusing on a end-to-end problem versus, hey, I own a component B or a component A. It's focusing on outcome based overall for us.
I'll double click on the smaller teams. We also forgot that, did a reorg for our devs to have a smaller teams, because really you want to put your smartest people on MCP. Like you want them building fast, you want them closest to the AI and solving the problems. It would like almost no guardrails, right? Like forget about your current platform. What would you do differently? What could this look like? Maybe Novus is a good example of that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, small teams.
Yeah, like for us, Novus was literally our CEO and 3 other engineers built it, 4 engineers basically. And
fantastic.
I think it was, smaller teams do help us move faster, less coordination. And the and you got to get really good at writing with, I think it's all about the instruction layer. Like Todd got really good at, he spends hours writing the instructions to Claude Code. And then, because he's an engineer and understands judgment, and so then he would be very precise with it. So the code he would get back, he'd be like, you're being defensive here. Be more offensive here when you're writing this piece of code. So it is a lot about, smaller teams could do a lot more if you got really good people who are coordinated, you know? How do you guys think about ThoughtSpot? Like, any of
Yeah, I mean, the way that we try to do it right now is really to start with, basically we have a new product we are building now, and we just use it as a guinea pig to try stuff, right? To say, okay, how can we change the way we work? And we keep this separated. So like this, it's much more freedom to test. Also, the platform is a new one, so it's brand new, so you don't have all the legacies that you have to support. And you know, sometimes if you have to wipe code on the legacy platform, it's a little bit more complex. And so here we just create a brand new tools we try new technique, we try new things. And the idea behind it, obviously, is every lesson we are going to learn to be able to export it to the other team. But that's really like the way we try to tackle that.
Yeah, that's really smart. I think that was going to be my next question is, are you guys rebuilding your products? It sounds like you guys have taken a part of your product and rebuilt it, basically, to start to experiment around that.
Yeah, it's a new one, actually. It's
yeah.
Not, yeah.
Are you guys doing that at Atlassian, at Miro, and yourself?
I think it's a mix of both, new and old both. But doesn't matter how you build stuff, you're still on the hook for quality, compliance, security. Like, absolutely, you cannot take any compromise there. So, like, all those gates are there. Everybody understands the responsibility. So, tools are here to stay. Tools are here to go. Your customer trust and what you serve stays. So, a lot of effort still goes into making sure all of this stuff is good. Our legal team, privacy team, all those things are still like they're doing stuff faster, but we still need to hit every check mark before anything is shipped to our customers.
Same. I mean, that part hasn't changed at all. I think it relates to, Francois, like the conversation we had earlier. We have to hold the duality of there's this cutting edge kind of innovation that's happening, and so we're reinventing ourselves, right? So at Miro, we're like in this meta world of using Miro to reinvent Miro. But ultimately, then there's a bunch of customers, right, who are still using the workflows that we've built years ago. And so we need to also cater to those customers and bring them along, right? So, so it's kind of this world of duality right now, which doesn't make this any simpler or product job any easier, but that's just the reality.
You have to identify your moat. Like, if your moat is changing because you think that someone else can rebuild your product, then yes, you should reconsider that. But if you can double down on your moat and you can say, this is why people use our product and this is what's going to be the best outcome for them, you can really focus. So I think for us, it's helped us focus and align of like, do we have the right to win in that space? And then also the back-end side of things, making sure the API is strong and the MCP can go quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be building lots of tools and having chaos across the agents. So you want to make sure the foundation is strong.
This is our last question. We've got to wrap up. If you were going back to college now, and what would you study, and what would you not learn?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
He's ready to start there. He's been thinking about it. He's ready to go back to college.
Okay. I've never been to college, actually. No, I'm joking. Sorry. Actually, I did a CS degree in Bordeaux. I recommend to everybody to go to Bordeaux for studying. Actually, I will do the same. And because I think that, for me, understanding how it's working, I think if you want to get the best of the, maybe I'm old school, but of LLM, Gen AI, and everything like that, or coding, if you don't know the backend, if you don't know how it's working, it's not interesting. And so I will do exactly the same.
It's interesting that you say exactly the same. I don't know if I feel the same way exactly, right? Because things are changing so fast, so I feel like I need more time to think about what would be my major, right? But one thing that's not changing is you still need communication and working with people and align, right? And I think what's shifted, though, is it's much more important now to know what problems to tackle and to really, for all of us in this space at least, to think more entrepreneurially. So throughout my career, I've kind of grown that side, the strategic side, but also kind of the execution and like how to get stuff done. So I think what changed now for me is like I would try to focus more and earlier on honing that entrepreneurial. It's like what problems should we solve? And then also leaning in, like that's the part that I wouldn't change. A lot of the things that I've learned in school is communication and how do you work with people and align. So I think that part is still the same.
I agree. So controversial, sorry, but I agree with that actually a lot because in the past we were held back because you couldn't write well or you didn't understand a syntax better. You have to learn this cryptic language for you to express yourself. Those guardrails are gone with this technology. So problem identification is a big deal in the new era. Connecting dots is a big one as well. AI is not going to connect dots for you. You have to connect the dots. You need to see what problem to solve and what problem exists, and have the taste, like I mentioned before. Like understanding what a good looks like is a very difficult skill to build, and that hasn't changed. Doesn't matter what technology come and go. So spending time on understanding what good is in an experience or in a product, virtual product or a digital product or a physical product, those things still matter a lot. I hope I don't go back to college, but if I have to, I will probably focus on those things.
Yeah. I have a 7-year-old daughter, so we always debate, my husband and I, of whether or not college will be the same in 10 years.
Yeah.
I kind of hope so because of the people experience, like getting to network and meet people and learn why people make certain decisions. Like it's just a huge part of growth overall. So I hope it's the same, but shout out to Lovable for International Women's Day. My daughter and I built an app, and it was 100% on learning. So like teaching her how to talk to an agent, I think is a skill that we all had to unlock in the last 6 months to a year. So knowing I could ask a question, hey, help me learn how to tell time, and then it can quiz her, and she gets reward points over the week. If anyone wants to give me feedback on it, we can set up a login. But it's pretty cool. Like, how can you teach someone now what you're learning at the same time?
Correct. I think, learning is going to change drastically. Even I have 3 daughters, but they use ChatGPT we tell them not to use it. They got to think still. Like, you can't just, but they use it to quiz themselves. They take their study guides, take a bunch of pictures. They're like, I want to get an A+ on this test. Give me a test that's harder than my teacher will give it to them. And that at least, like you said, they're trying to reinforce their learning that if I had to build a test or their teacher had to, that would take them time. As long as they're critical thinking, I think that's a key part, as they go in. But
don't accept the slop.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you guys all coming out. I know a lot of you guys flew from the West Coast and from up and down the East Coast, so I appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you.